Good morning, Anders, dude.
Hey, what's up?
Welcome. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, dude.
Thank you for having me.
Look, goes without saying, we're absolutely massive fans, and it's an absolute honor to have you on here chatting, man. Like it really is a very important one for us as metalheads. What's going on?
I'm having my morning coffee. You guys are pretty far away, as far as I
We-
know.
Yeah, we're having our nightly tea before we go to sleep.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
not
like
a
real
metal coffee.
metalheads.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
How do
yeah.
you have your coffee?
Destroying the image of a metalhead, but sorry, what?
How do you take your coffee?
Um, Super black.
Super black. You
But
are metal. You are
I
metal.
have, yeah, but I'm pretty serious about my coffee. Actually, I have a grinder, so I do the grind it right before, and then I order some small quantity, good stuff, coffee, and make it fresh every time. So
What method do you use to make it? Because I was just looking into doing a barista course just for my house. I'm not kidding. I was talking to my fiance about this, being like, I should learn how to make coffee because I'd like to be able to make it well, and I'd be interested to know how you do it.
yeah, I've been all over the place. There's times where I just were having espressos, and I gone through several different machines to get the right pressure and the right, like, and then mixing the right amount of coffee and stuff like that. But now it's just normal, uh, whatever you call that in English.
Yeah,
uh,
okay. Like a
so
press thing or a pour over
no,
or
I have that too. I've done that, and I have one of those small kettles that you put on the
yeah,
stove. I have that. But now I do a big can of coffee instead,
yeah, like a
because
pot.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah,
but
okay.
it's still just make sure I fresh beans or pretty newly roasted beans, and then I grind them right before I put them in the pot. So yeah,
So obviously the world's back to normal now. Okay, touring's happening again, but let's stay with the
yeah,
coffee thing. How
yeah,
hard is
yeah.
it? How hard is it to find good coffee in certain countries? Where's the best coffee you've found? Where's the worst? Where's it impossible to get a decent coffee?
So this is really serious. People might not think this is serious for a touring musician. I mean, the first thing you think about when you wake up in the tour bus is, where can I find a toilet? Like, that's where you want to go, right? And the next thing in your mind is a decent cup of coffee. So, but we usually bring machines with us,
Oh
so we at
wow.
least have those pods, so we can do like good espressos and stuff like that in the
Yeah.
morning. But otherwise, we go out and scout, where we are, and find good spots. But the best I've had is probably an old village in Colombia. That was like insanely
Yeah.
good.
They
Like
literally just
it's
pick the beans, roast them, and like is a meter distance between like pot to thing.
yeah, it was on another level, for sure. And it's amazing when that hits you. Like that
Yeah.
can put a smile every any boring day. You get a good espresso like that. So,
But at
and
the same
the worst,
America.
it's probably a truck stop somewhere in America, like
Yeah,
where
yeah.
they use like 1 bean per liter of water. Like when it's like, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
How
but
bad it.
like you said, how important it is to have, how a good cup of coffee when you start your day with a good cup, it can really set the tone. But if you have a shitty one, especially
Oh,
how much some places charge now, especially here, it's just like
oh
if
yeah,
you get a bad one, man, just shit mood for the rest of the day.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean it's super expensive, and we see that here too. Like the price per kilo coffee, it's risen. You know, it's crazy. But I'm addicted to it. So what can I
Yeah,
say?
yeah. It's not something you can go without. So
It's it's an okay. I think that's an okay vice to have. In a way. So it's not too bad.
no,
Um,
100%. I
some
feel like caffeine's
some
something
people
that.
say it's not good for you, but I don't listen to them in this case.
How many a day
So,
are you having?
so when I'm working in the studio, I drink way too much. When I'm not, it's on an okay level. But I'm
What's
not one of
okay?
those. I don't have to stop in the evening. I can sleep anyway. So it's
Okay.
I mean, I almost sleep even better with a like nighttime espresso, you know. So
I think I'd be more concerned about my heart exploding.
yeah. I mean, maybe, you know, at the end of the day, when I meet my maker, not to say something upon it, but you know, like maybe he or she will tell me that you had way too much. You could live another 5 years if you didn't drink that much, but it is what it is, right?
It's their fault for inventing coffee.
Yeah.
Yes.
So on that segue, let's talk the new track. It's an absolute powerhouse and not just blowing smoke up your ass. It's one of the best In Flames songs I've ever heard. It's just an amalgamation of everything you guys have ever done. It's got the ferocity, it's got the melody, you know, like it's got that straight up, you know, Swedish melodeath sort of sound to the guitars. What an absolute banger. Is it being received as well as I'm making it sound?
I guess, you know, what we see, because we're not out and checking out what everybody says. And I mean, obviously I've done a lot of interviews now and we're getting really good feedback, which is awesome, you know. The reaction I'm looking for is when we get to play these songs live. You know, that's the reaction I really care about. How do these songs work in a live environment? And I think it will be all right. I can feel it already. I mean, we think a lot about that when we play, when we record these songs now, you know. That's not really the first play we went when we were younger, you know, in our younger years. We got in the studio and wow, we can record like 12 guitars on top of each other. That's awesome, you know, and do this. And oh shit, we only have 2 guitar players. Like, how do we go from a studio version to a live version? But now when we write these things, we think about that. But I mean, I'm really happy to hear what you said, and it makes me happy. And you know, this was one of the first songs we wrote for this album, and where we felt, okay, this is the path we're going to take with this album. This kind of sets the tone for the rest of the songs and the whole album. So yeah, and it's cool. I mean, we are In Flames. I'm happy it sounds like In Flames.
It's always interesting hearing someone say that the lead single sort of sets the tone for the album, because we've discussed so many times you hear the first song from an artist, they come back with something, and then you're like, oh, this is epic. And then the rest of the album just doesn't quite follow. And it seems to be like it's the one either heavy song or one poppy song, whatever it is, that doesn't really sync with the rest. But it's interesting hearing you say that you wanted that to set the tone for the album and kind of set the expectations for people.
Yeah, I mean, I think very much in an old, when I look at a whole album, we don't write singles, so we don't write 40 songs, right? And then pick the best 12.
Yeah.
We write, and when we're done, we're done. You know, like that's how it works. So we don't have a lot of leftovers. We don't have a lot of extra like B-sides and stuff like that. So and I don't think about singles up until when it's time to have that talk with a record label. But this time around, Nuclear Blast been so awesome. They didn't interfere. I mean, we signed a deal. We got the money. We went to the States and we recorded an album. And when everything was done, like when everything is mastered, that's when they got to hear. So we were sitting at a dinner somewhere in Germany, and I knew people were interested, right? I feel the tension. And then after a while, I was like, "You guys want to hear the first single?" Boom, there it is. You know, like, and so it really decided then, you know, this is what it's going to be. And so and I think Say Slow Decay was a nice introduction, but it was definitely not the first song that set the tone for this album.
I think it's really cool that, you know, you touched on how great Nuclear Blast have been for you, you know, and sort of letting you guys basically sort of run your own show. But I mean, at the same time, you know, from where I'm sitting, it's like you're In Flames. You know what I mean? Like you basically helped pioneer an entire genre of metal. And you and Bjorn have been together since what, 95 or something? You're like, you know what you're doing now. You know what I mean? I'm sure they have no, you know, misconceptions that you guys are going to come back and it's going to sound like a Taylor Swift album or something like that. So
you never know. Some people might think that.
I would love that. If you could just do a covers album, I would be real stoked on that.
I don't want to scare people, but I don't think that's going to happen either. But you know.
So if you were to do a covers album, what
Yeah.
songs do you reckon you'd put on there? And you can go for your metal sort of influences, or even something that might be a little bit left of field that people wouldn't sort of expect from you guys.
So we did like an EP a couple of years ago where we covered Alice in Chains and Nine Inch Nails, Depeche Mode, was it Chris Isaac, and so Nine Inch Nails and Alice in Chains, they're my like some of my favorite bands ever. And to do covers of those artists is scary,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
it's intriguing at the same time. And it's so easy. I you want to do your own interpretation. You don't want to do it like a one-to-one cover, right?
Yeah.
It's easier to go with something that people are not so aware of and haven't really heard. So go off the road a little bit and do something different. But honestly, I don't know. And I it's fun to do covers once in a while, but not too often. So to make a whole album, that's a big. It's easier to make another In Flames album than decide what 10 covers you should do, I think.
That's fair enough.
What's an artist you just touched on there, saying that like Nine Inch Nails and they were like one of your favorite all-time bands. What's an artist that's highly played on your records that someone wouldn't expect?
Oh, right. Okay, so I backtrack a little bit. I started with like I got into heavy metal when I was 10 years old, right? And I want to have more and more and more and more. And then you know, thrash and speed metal came along into my life, and that was everything for me, right? And then death metal came with. I heard early death albums, and I was like, "What is this? I need to know more." And then this whole genre just unfolded, and then the grindcore and everything, and it got to a point where to me it was heavy enough, and then I moved track back, and I was broadening my horizon a little bit and listened to way more music. Right now I am so into like ambient electronic and soundtrack music, and even dive a little bit into jazz music and stuff like that. That to me right now is like I have the same feeling I had when I found thrash and death. Like it's so new and everything. I want to learn like everything. But at the same time, I listen to heavy stuff as well. I see you got a Fit for an Autopsy shirt, and those guys are amazing. They that latest album is just like one of the best. It's phenomenal. It came out like last year, I think, or the year before, but last year. And then that, and they toured with us in the States, and it was just amazing to hear these songs live. And then, so I'm very, I listen to all kinds of stuff, but all the ambient electronic stuff, I don't think people really expect that. To some people, that might be music even, like it's just some crazy notes that's ringing for 5 minutes, but I love it.
Hey, as long as it makes you feel good, that's the beauty of music, isn't it? Like, I mean, the same way that metal hits us.
Yeah, I want to know what artists, what are you thinking when they do this? I want to understand it, and get into their heads and stuff like that. And it's just, and also this electronic, like non or like instrumental music, right? Then that's when I create my own story and my own images pop up in my head and stuff like that. So that's really, I really enjoy it.
So when it comes to writing your music, how do you think you convey what's going through your mind and when you create it? So like in the same vein that you listen to this electronic stuff and you're like, I wonder what they're thinking of, how they're going up with this stuff. Do you feel like you explain that or go through that process and share that enough with people that might not be familiar with In Flames and with metal?
So we have 2 different modes. One is the touring mode, and that's all we think about. Then after, sometimes it's like, oh, let's make an album, and then that's all we think about. So, and then we're in a bubble, and that's why we travel away from Sweden, away from friends and families, because I want to live and breathe the music 24/7. I want to be in that bubble, and then it just, I don't know. Sometimes for me it's super easy. I get into that mode, and that's it, and I channel whatever energies come, and then I write it down on paper, and it transcribed into a guitar or a drum beat or whatever it is, and it just happens, and it's yeah, it's both easy and difficult to explain at the same time, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
And we are so much in that moment, and that's what I like about our music too. Like every album that we made is a photograph who we were at that point in our lives, and then we move on from there. I mean, I don't get me wrong, I love my history, I love where we're coming from, but it's just like we constantly want to evolve and go forward, but bring the history, not use the past as a crutch, but use it with us, and enjoy it, and you find inspiration in it as well. But and also I think, to me, like, this album was done in, let's say, so we recorded it in between February and March last year. At the end of March we were done, and then it came the mixing and the mastering and stuff like that. So let's say I had this album since May, and it's been mine, you know, I own that album since then. But what is it tomorrow here, at least, because this is 9th today, so tomorrow we release this new album, and then it's not mine anymore. I don't own that anymore. Then it's I give it, and it's on its own journey, own path, and I cannot control what happens after that. So, and it feels really nice to know that, like, I've done all I can, I'm happy, now it's go out and play, sort of, you know.
It's like letting your children grow up and go out in the world.
yeah anyway, and music is so individual too. Like, I meet a lot of people when I'm traveling, and you know, everyone has their own story, which is amazing, you know. It's fucking awesome, you know. So listen to as much music as you can, kids, and then you know, enjoy the ride, you know.
That's what this whole channel's about, is just getting as much music across different things. Like we said, we love metal, but we do cover everything, because I'm the same as you. I think there's so much to be taken from all different genres and all different artists, and sort of exploring what it means to them, and then how you can interpret that. I think that's such a cool thing about music.
Yeah.
So you touched on a second ago, you know, like you're proud of your past and your history and where you've come from, but, you know, you want to keep evolving. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you, which sort of, you know, leads from that, is the band's been around since, is it 1990 it first started? Was it 1990?
Yeah, the idea of the band started at that time.
Yeah.
When I had, or In Flames had, one full length and one EP. So Lunastrain and Subterranean were made before and released before me and Björn joined.
That's right, yeah. So with your evolution and stuff like that, you know, it's like, what, 13, or this is your 13th or 14th album. Is the evolution of your sound and the ability to sort of take your past with you but create new sounds, do you think that's your secret to the longevity that you guys have had?
I mean, first you got to love what you do, and that's like, you got to feel the passion, and then hopefully others will feel that too. But we never been so stuck in like, people might think that we want to be this band or that band or whatever, like we're searching for trend. Well, we not, I mean, people will be surprised how little music Björn listened to, you know. Like, I love the guy, but he's still like Black Sabbath, Dio, Rainbow, Van Halen. That's his ground zero, and that's where he based pretty much all of our guitar around, you know, and some early death metal and stuff like that too. So, but we've seen trends come and go, and I think we stay grounded and that's how we stay sane, and we do what we do, and we create an album that we're super happy with, and off to the next one, you know, like, and we don't ride all the time. We don't ride on the road. We don't ride, like, when it's time to do an album, that's when we ride. So honestly, it's been fairly easy. And there were times back in, like, many years ago, when we, you know, when you read comments, and then you reading reviews, and you were thinking about what people say, and you want everyone to understand your intentions and so on. But after a while you realize that it's not possible. Like, I can't do what 1,000 people tell me to do. Yeah. You know, it's someone we be unhappy. So we focus on what we do, and whatever happens, sort of. And that's been our strategy, and I think that helped us, you know. And I think we have our sound. We have something that's like, you know, the DNA of In Flames, that's melody and aggression. And I think that people can hear that, whether they like it or not. It's just like we have a sound that is ours, you know. It's like and then
With the current state of music, there seems to be, and we've noticed like a huge renaissance of heavy music, and a lot more kind of exposure coming to bands like yourselves. They've been around for a very long time, but a newer generation of it. Was there any time where you felt like you weren't feeling as relevant amongst the scene or amongst your contemporaries, or was that never something that you considered?
I mean, I'm aware. I mean, how the, you know, how it works, like in cycles, you know.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not really concerned about that. I'm doing this for me, and I share our music with people that are interested when I go play live. And if you're 100 or 1,000 or 10,000, it's like sort of the same. I mean,
Yeah, that's
obviously
cool.
it's a different impact, I guess, on a huge festival or in a club, but at the same time, it's just like, you know, it's an energy thing. So no, I haven't really thought about that. But I'm aware. I mean, this music, what we do, is not supposed to be like mainstream. It's not supposed to be everywhere all
No.
the time. But the underground is so strong, and metal, the community is fucking amazing. You know, like people come out and support your bands, and they buy your stuff, and they, you know, carry you, right? And that will, whatever any mainstream media say, they will not,
Yeah.
you know, we
I
will
was
be here.
watching
Yeah.
a video the other day of a lady that works in a record store, and she was saying
Yeah,
exactly that. They were talking about like, what are the things you see in the record store every day? And she's like, the most dedicated and passionate and supportive people are the scariest looking ones. The metalheads are the ones that come in and they buy every record, they buy the merch, they support the bands more than anyone else, regardless of what else they're saying. I was like, that's such a cool thing that it's kind of probably the opposite of what people would expect by looking at the
yeah, and I think it's easy to, for bands. I can't speak for everyone else, but you know, like, and that's something that I really realized. But you know, it got me thinking during COVID. Like, I will never take people for granted. You know, like, it's easy to record an album and release an album and go on tour, and you expect people to be there, buy your merch, and jump when you tell them to jump, and so on. And in COVID, we were alone. Like,
yeah.
and I was missing that so much. And that's probably why the album sounds the way it does too. Like, it's there's like a pre-COVID band person and after COVID band person. You know, like, that's, I have it. It's yeah. It's a different vibe. And then every time we played last year, it was like, oh, this is amazing. This is amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
that's
And
it.
that's the right feeling. It's, you know, you should have.
Yeah, and we you know, doing this and getting to talk to so many artists now, it's so cool to hear all these up and coming bands that are now getting quite big, you know, like bands that are taking, you know, even the most aggressive of metal, you know, like bands like Lorna Shore, like taking that to new levels, to new heights. And, you know, when we chatted to Will, like his favorite memory, his favorite concert memory was watching you guys. And you know, we recently just chat with our buddies Eddie and Harold from Imminence, and they were out on a few shows with you guys last year and had nothing but nice things to say about you guys. It's a testament to you guys as people as well as a good band, because you know these artists love what you do, they look up to you, but you know, like, are always so happy to be able to come across with you and share their musical journey with you as well.
It's really cool to hear. And you know, I love both of those bands, and you know, I've watched them several times, and I really enjoy it. But it's the same for us. We took ideas and inspirations from, you know, the Priest, the Maiden, and then like this or that, and then we molded into our own sound. And that's how it works. And that's what I love about music too. Like, when you start, you want to become your heroes, and after a while you find your sound, and then it's off you go.
Yeah.
So it's very cool to see and hear. And recommendations for anyone that's starting a band, like listen to as much as possible, and don't try to chase trends. Don't try to, because you will be late on the ball anyway. Like if you now and you want to be what this is, and then that trend is gone. Just do your thing and just explore, as much as possible.
The thing I think that gets missed as well is those bands that are on trend, they took 5 years to build towards that. It's not like they just started and they're all of a sudden popular doing that thing.
Yeah,
that sound they have that's popular has taken a long time to kind of craft, which is maybe not seen.
No. But I mean, it's really cool to hear stuff like Lorna Shore and their, what they are doing, because one is pretty extreme, but at the same time, there's so much melody in the music, and it's very cool that a band like that can get a lot of exposure, because they're super talented, very nice guys as well. So it's really cool to see.
Yeah. So now talking about, you mentioned, sort of through COVID, then you got to go back out touring and stuff like that. You are very, very close to joining us here in Australia once again. That's got to be exciting to finally get back over here after so long.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We were close. Like we were in New Zealand, and the show got cancelled, and we were supposed to go to Australia right after, but then they said, no, you will end up in quarantine, so you better go home. And as much as I love Australia, I don't want to spend time in quarantine there. I don't think they serve you. I don't know if they serve you beer in quarantine either. I don't know how that works. But
it's Australia. They serve you beer everywhere.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, of course. Stupid me. Yeah. No, I'm really looking forward to it. I love it over there. I mean, first time I was down there, I told my family I want to move, because people are so friendly, and it was super nice. It was like America and Europe mixed into one, and people were open, and it was warm. It was not snow like here today.
Yeah. So. Yeah. We still had like a rainy day today, and it's still like 27 degrees Celsius. It's still warm. Yeah. You're on a stacked lineup too.
You have amazing music coming from there too. I love the you have a different take on certain things, and I love that,
The Australian contingent is really strong at the moment. I feel like on all the festival lineups and stuff, the Australian bands are still getting, I think, like quite a lot of praise amongst their contemporaries from other countries, which is cool, because Australians can be a little bit tall poppy syndrome sometimes and like look down on their own, but I don't think you can do that with the current artists coming out of here, which is really cool.
Cool. Yeah, I'm interested to find new music when I get down there and hear what people listening to and what they say.
Oh, man, we can't wait to have you here. We like to wrap things up with a bit of a fun would you rather. So we're going to give you a few questions here. You got to pick which one you'd rather be. Starting off with one of the classic ones. If you were to be in either of these two cinematic universes, which would you be and why? Star Wars or Marvel?
Star Wars, I guess. That's what I grew up with, and it's I want to get into that universe somehow. I watch a lot of space stuff as well, so that would be cool. But
yes, you've definitely got the Jedi beard.
And there is something about the laser, the sword. You want to fight someone with a
lightsaber
sword like that.
I love seeing the behind the scenes of.
Sorry for sounding very old. But,
the Star Wars fans will come out hard.
Yeah.
I was actually expecting you guys to say the normal, like Star Trek or Star Wars, and that would have been easy. Actually, Marvel is. I do enjoy the Marvel universe.
We don't want to make it easy for you. That's not what this is about. Got to keep you on your toes.
All right, so. You have to wake up to either one of these songs every single day for the rest of your life. It's going to be your alarm, and you've got to listen to the entire song before you get out of bed. It's either going to be Photograph by Nickelback or With Arms Wide Open by Creed. What are you choosing to start your day?
Wow. So Wake Up in Hell, is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Just how hot do you want it to be?
I would be Nickelback then, I guess. I don't fucking know. I was just like, I was rolling a dice. I have nothing bad to say about the bands. It's just not what I am listening to. But
yeah, and those two songs are like the ones you've heard the most.
The thing is, I would like to hear them for the first time. I never heard those songs, so I'd be like, or I probably have somewhere, but I can't hum any of those songs. I can't really, like.
I got you.
Yeah.
Look Unless at this photograph.
I was just about at. That was really good. You should work on that.
Don't work on that, please, for my sake. Look, we're keeping because our time's running short here, so we're going to give you the one we've asked everyone. This is divisive. This is not an easy question. You're about to walk on stage. You're warm. You're dry. You're comfortable. You are ready to rock. You've got to put on cold, wet underwear or cold, wet socks. What do you choose?
The socks version, I think. Yeah.
Why?
I have no idea why, but it's like I want to treat my privates, I guess. I don't know.
Treat your privates. That's the quote right there. You're absolutely right.
It depends on where you're playing, though, because if you're playing in Sweden, it's going to be cold already, Maybe if you're in Australia, cold wet underwear, man, like it's going to be still pretty hot here in March. That might help you out.
Team underwear, I'm team socks. So he's just trying to convince you.
Right. Yeah. Now, I mean, now we have good people with us that take care of all of that department. So if it's neither dry socks or dry underwear, I think there will be a riot within the group. So
that's what you need, Johnny. Someone to look after your privates.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. So one final question before we sorry.
No, exactly. Then when you made it, when you have someone to do that for you.
Yeah, well, yeah. All right. So I'm going to ask one more. You've been to Australia quite a few times. Do you have any memory of this country, touring or just hanging out here, that sticks out? It can be good or bad.
Well, I took a helicopter ride in Sydney, out
cool,
the bay and then circling over the Opera House and stuff like that. And I have a buddy with me, or actually the same guy that filmed Meet Your Maker video. And we've been friends for a long, long time. And then he was hanging out the door, like filming and shit. So we were tilting above the Opera House. And that was crazy views I never expected to see. But
yeah, that's cool.
And
I know you said final question, but sorry, go on.
And I love to eat too. And I had some really good odd things like I had possum once, I think, because I wanted to try, and I think you can only get it in like Tasmania or something, because otherwise it's not good for you. It's probably not good for you anyway, but it's and it wasn't great at all. It was some sort of burger-ish, and it was just a little bit off-putting, I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't sound great.
Maybe it was a very old burger that no one ordered, and I was already pre-cooked, and I was like, we can trick this Swedish person to eat this shit.
There's a reason that Tasmania is detached. That's not natural. We've done that deliberately.
Oh yeah, okay.
I know you said we're going to wrap it up, but I want to touch on the film clip for Meet Your Maker before you do, because the cinematography in that was so captivating. So pass it on to your friend. That was it's such a fun film clip, like a simple concept you guys executed so well.
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
It looked awesome. It was really, really, like I was saying this to Johnny when we watched it, I was like, just the camera work in it, while it was a simple playthrough video, it just made it so engaging to watch. And even just like the color and stuff, it was fantastic.
Yeah, and big props to our light designer, because we were actually rehearsing for our own festival that we have in Sweden. So, and then at the end of like one of the days, we just moved the lightning rig around, and it's like, let's do a video, and then it was done. And it was crazy hot in the studio, right? Wow. We did a few takes, and then we have to go out and breathe because there were no air whatsoever. And then that was awesome. It was easy. And then Patrick, the guy who's creating the videos, he makes it really easy for us too. And yeah, he has a good eye and a good vision. He's done a lot of videos for us, so he knows.
Yeah,
very good. All right, well, dude, thank you so much for giving us some of your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. Hey, we'll be at KNOTFEST, so we'll see you there.
See you in a few weeks.
Yeah, sounds good. I appreciate it. Thank you for having us.
Pleasure. Thanks, Anders.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.